Hey guys, this is Thomas over here, nursemoneytalk.com. And in this video, I'm going to talk about some 10 back to school essentials for nursing students. But before I get into that, if you're not already subscribed, I want to go ahead and invite you to hit that subscribe button. On this channel, I talk about all things related to nursing student, and of course, nurse life. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, I will preface this by saying that none of these are really in any order per se of priority, depending on what you have already and what your budget is. Obviously will kind of make a difference, and school requirements as well will probably kind of dictate some of these. So I'm just going to go through them and try to also give you some helpful options in there as to which product might be best for each category. Now, the links to everything I mentioned will be in the descriptions below. Definitely check those out to know for sure which product I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and get started with the first one being to consider getting a new laptop. Now, some of you might already have a laptop or a computer that you're planning to use, and if you're in a boat where you don't have one, here's kind of the things to keep in mind. Now, I've already made a video about, kind of like looking at the comparisons between a PC or a Mac for nursing school. So I'm not really going to go deep into that subject. I'll just refer you to that video. So, because for many of you, you're already going to know whether you want a PC or whether you want a Mac. And if you're looking for the PC route, probably considering the Dell XPS 15. If you're looking for a MacBook, probably looking at the M2 MacBook Air. Now, you will notice with these two options that they're not particularly cheap. They're not like the most expensive of the line, but they're not particularly cheap. And so they're what I would call somewhere in the middle. And that's probably what you want to shoot for, even in a lot of situations, even with money being tight, especially when it comes to tech. Because from personal experience, tech, especially if it's cheap, it increases the likelihood that it's going to break. Something's going to go wrong. Hard drive failure. Shoot, hard drive failure when you have a paper that's part ways finished and then you have to rewrite the paper because you lost everything. I'm saying that from experience. And so you really want to make sure that you pick good quality tech. Another option when it comes to the laptop mix, depending on what your school requirements are, is you could consider a Chromebook, such as like the Samsung Chromebook 2. And if you are in a situation where you can use a Chromebook, it might not be a bad option. Now, if you aren't too familiar with what a Chromebook is, it's essentially a computer that's powered by the Chrome browser. That is the operating system. And so everything you do, it's made to function within a web application, so within a web browser. So pretty much you always need the internet for the most part. The beauty of Chromebooks is that they tend to be on the cheaper side of things, but they are still, if it fits within kind of like your workflow and what your school requires, they can be an excellent option because the OS that powers it is very slim and it runs super fast, tends to have incredible battery life from like the Chromebooks that I've used. Another option worth considering is probably one of my more favorite PC laptops, and that's the Asus Pro Duo. Like I said, links will be in the descriptions below. This one, it's going to be for the most part, it's going to be on the very high pricey side. Now, the beauty of this laptop is that it actually it has a dual 4K screen. So you have the screen up at the top, and then you have the second screen that's on the bottom, both 4K, both touch screens. The newer models, the one you're seeing now is the older model that I have. The newer one, the bottom screen actually tilts at about, I think it's like a 15-20 degree angle, which it's really nice to have that second screen. I thought it would be a gimmick when I first got this laptop, but after using it for however many years now, I have found that I probably will not do will always go for the second screen laptop just because of the optionality it gives me. One thing to think about, like if you are a nursing student, so for instance, you have to write a lot of paper. So if you think about you're writing your paper at the top, or I guess you could use the bottom as well. And then you use that second screen to then be able to have like your source documents kind of spread out. So definitely something to keep in mind as well. The second essential item is to look at getting a tablet, but not just any tablet, the iPad Air 4th Gen tablet and also the second generation Apple Pencil. The reason for this is because honestly, ever since getting a an iPad, like I've considered it as a game changer in terms of being able to take notes and write on the iPad, like taking all your notes on there. Like once you use certain apps like a Notability or a Good Notes, you can organize it. You can actually search through the notes if your handwriting is not completely atrocious. But even if it is, and so the system can't really search through it, you can pretty much, it has like some of these apps, especially like the Notability or the Good Notes, they have really, really exceptionally well done organization systems that you can really keep things organized. On top of being able to take notes, they also really work well for dealing with digital planners, some light streamings, Netflix watchings, Hulu's, being able to use digital textbooks. Those are becoming more and more of a thing. So being able to use that on your tablet, as opposed to either having to lug around a laptop if you don't particularly need it, or instead of actually being able to lug around the entire, textbooks, which we know how, very heavy those textbooks can be. The other thing about the iPads is that if you're using something like a Google Docs or something like that, you can actually, write papers on it. You can then actually sync it to if you're using like Google Docs, you can then maybe start it on the laptop or desktop or whatever. We'll keep working on it on the tablet or vice versa. And so I think it's a really powerful option, especially for the note-taking aspect of it. The ability to not have to deal with paper, and most importantly, not have to worry about clutter or papers just getting lost, like things are being synced in, through the cloud. That to me is 100% game changer. The third option is to really look at getting a noise canceling headphone. Now, the noise canceling headphones that I currently use and that I like is the Bose noise canceling headphones 700. There are, slightly cheaper options, so you can get the Bose Quiet Comfort 35. Those are cheaper and would work just fine. I've used those in the past. I just kind of like the more metal and slicker design of the 700. Sony also makes some great wireless headphone options. The reason why wireless headphones I think are kind of a must when it comes to nursing students is just your ability to now be able to study anywhere. When I was going through school, I put the headphones on, turn on the noise cancellation, start playing, like a music that doesn't have like lyrics in it, and I can literally study anywhere. It didn't matter whether it was a noisy coffee shop, a McDonald's, a Starbucks, Panera Bread, was it like Chick-fil-A? Like it didn't matter where it was at. Like once I put those on, I could drown out just about anything and be able to study relatively with minimal to no distractions. Side note, I will let you know that my two favorite stations that I rocked through when I was in undergraduate and nursing school on Pandora, yes, I said Pandora, I was not using Spotify, was the Native American Flute Ensemble station on Pandora, and then also the Piano Guys Radio on Pandora. So definitely check those out if you are looking for a station to start listening to while you're studying. The fourth option is to get a smartwatch. Now, I know many of you might not even wear a watch at all, so this might seem kind of weird that I'm recommending a smartwatch, but I think what you'll find when you get into nursing school is that a lot of you will actually start wearing a watch because it will get to a point where there's so many things that you kind of need to keep track of. And so having a watch is honestly just more convenient. And it's not always ideal to be able to pull out your phone. So as for which smartwatch you should consider getting, I think a lot of this will be tied to whatever ecosystem you're in. So for instance, if you are in the Apple ecosystem, so getting like the Apple Watch, the latest version, I'll put a link to that, like I said in the descriptions, will probably be your best option. But if you're not tied to the Apple ecosystem, then you should probably consider getting something like the Samsung Galaxy Watch. Now, for me personally, the Galaxy Watch, it's a great option. It's probably one of the I think it might be the best selling of the Android watches. But I actually prefer the Fossil smartwatch primarily because I just prefer Fossil products in general. Now, with the Fossil smartwatch, part of the things that I like about it is that I think it looks a lot like a traditional watch, which I was wearing traditional watches before smartwatches became a thing. But I think what you'll find with regardless of which option you go with is the beauty of these watches is the fact that you can see notifications, right? And so whether you are, like working in a clinical or in the classroom listening to a lecture, notification comes through, you can quickly flip over. You can see what's going on if you're expecting an emergent, like an important call, like you have like kids or whatnot and somebody's watching them. So you can always be within like a flip away from being able to see what your notifications are. You can also set reminders, calendar alerts and whatnot. One of the things that I know that I like doing with my watch is just being able to, like, if I'm doing something and I need to set a timer or a reminder, it's pretty easy to be able to say, hey, set 15-minute timer, and then I'll be, reminded with a buzz. And so I can then get back to the patient care, deal that I was doing. And so I think it's a pretty great option. Like if you are into the whole fitness thing as well, they can all, counting steps, heart rate, calories, they'll link up to, a lot of different like fitness apps as well. The fifth option that I think is pretty essential is the Nursing Student Academy. Now, the Nursing Student Academy, which you can get to by going to nursemoneytalk.com/student, Nursing Student Academy, it's a course that goes over all of the kind of like important topics and subjects that you're going to cover in nursing school. And what you will quickly find out in nursing school is that a lot of these textbooks and stuff that they're gonna assign to you, it's gonna have a lot of fluff. And so some of it, I think 70+% of it is going to be fluff, and it's about trying to filter out the fluff. And so what the Nursing Student Academy does is that they've already taken out, the fluff. They're not just writing extra stuff just because they have to fill this massive textbook so they can charge you an arm and a leg. This is like really getting down to the stuff that you need to know. And so you'll see in the descriptions, it's, over 2,500 lessons that covers just about every topics and subjects that you will probably run into in nursing school, ranging from care plans, classes like MedSearch, OB, critical care, and more, like even topics such as, like neuro, respiratory, musculoskeletal, and whatnot. So definitely check it out by going to nursemoneytalk.com/nursing student academy. Number 6 is a voice recorder. This is an interesting one because I didn't use a voice recorder throughout school, never used it for undergraduate, for my first bachelor's nursing school, whatever. But I know a ton of people that did. And so I think this is a great option especially depending on what your proximity is to where the teacher is. So, for instance, the beauty of a dedicated voice recorder, like the one I'll put in the link in the description, is that they tend to, you get really good voice quality. They have great file management, time, rename, all that jazz, right? But the beauty about them is that they tend to have better voice quality and recording because that is their primary function, as opposed to what I would probably look at, which is seeing if you could use your iPad for recording. And so if you're in a small lecture room and you're really close to where the teacher's at, just setting your iPad on recording might not be a bad idea necessarily. But one thing to also think about is that I know in the situations in a lot of the classrooms that I was in, so you're a little bit further back from the teacher. If they don't have a mic, so they're kind of projecting. And so what some faculty will allow some students to do is that if they have a voice recorder and if they have like their podium, they can then actually place their voice recorder right on the podium where the faculty member is, which would then of course give you really great audio. So I do think that you're probably better off just buying a dedicated voice recorder if you do like recording, um, especially since they tend to not be super expensive. But just kind of giving you an idea of some of the options that are available to you. The seventh option is to look at getting a stethoscope. I think this one is one that's going to be on everybody's list. And so you're going to get a stethoscope. But the key thing that I wanted to highlight is the importance of getting a good stethoscope. I think with a good stethoscope, part of the hallmark of a good stethoscope is how easy it's going to be for you to be able to hear what you want to hear and how clear the sound's going to be, and also how comfortable it's going to be for you to actually have it in your ears, right? And so I think while the temptation might be to cheap out on a stethoscope, I think you'll be using it so much that I would highly encourage you not to. Not to mention, a stethoscope is one of those things where if you take care of it, you'll use, and you buy a good one, you'll use it again as you continue on, and during your practice. They tend to last a pretty long while. I would probably encourage you to consider getting the Littman Classic 3. If that, as a kind of like a cheaper end stethoscope. And I think if your budget really allows it, then probably consider upping it to maybe like the Cardiology 4. And I probably don't need one that nice, but I know that's the one I generally prefer using. I know, my wife who's a PA, that's like the minimum she prefers using because I think it, gives clear audio. And one of the things to keep in mind, like as you're a student and as you're learning, is that the clearer the audio, the easier it is to find it, the better it is for you to be able to start kind of learning the differences between, normal heart sounds and abnormal heart sounds, the lung sounds, the bowel sounds, and everything else that's associated with that. So definitely keep that in mind as you're searching. Let's talk about number 8 because that is a good pair of scrubs and shoes. So let's talk about the scrubs there for a second because these are the things that you wear, same things with shoes. And I think you wear them so often that I think having one that doesn't fit well, can be a little problematic because if now your school might give you some restrictions on what you can or can't wear based on kind of vendors, or a lot of schools they want their patch on it and whatnot, so there might be some restrictions there. But if you don't have those restrictions, if you think about it, if your school is like mine, every time you show up, you were expected, and a lot of times, to have those scrubs on. Clinicals, you have a lot of clinicals, you're gonna have those on. And so finding comfortable scrubs is important. Used to be a fan of Landau, kind of moved away to them. I prefer Infinity scrubs because I am a bigger guy. I do think they fit better for bigger guys and slightly taller guys as well. Same thing if you are a bigger female or slightly taller female. I think infinity would probably be a pretty great option. Figs are a very popular options, though from my experience with buying figs scrubs, they tend to run pretty small. Like I could not actually fit into the scrubs that I got. And so one other note with this is that really looking at getting scrubs that have just a little bit of kind of like spandex in them. And that's kind of like one of the things that I have learned is that for me, like if the pants don't have spandex, I'm going to rip them at the seams. It's just going to happen. That's what's going to happen for me. And so they need a little bit of spandex to me. They're more comfortable and they have a little bit more of a stretch to them. The other option, really looking at shoes, is that comfortable. They need to be comfortable. I mean, I know so many people love accessorizing. And so with scrubs and shoes, these are great ways to accessorize. I don't, I want to look good, but at the same time, if you like shoes are like, I need shoes that are very comfortable, especially considering, I have like flat feet. And so I need them to have like arch support. One option to really look at that's been very popular recommendation that I've had is looking at Allbirds shoes. I'll put a link as well, as always, like in the descriptions. And so they're stylish, they're comfortable. And if you're into kind of like that eco-friendly, low carbon footprint and made with sustainable material, they pretty much check the box on a lot of those. So definitely check them out. Number 9, looking at foldable nursing clipboards. And I know this one is, a lot of people are going to be looking at it like, really? A clipboard, that's what you're going to put on there, and specifically foldable. Yes, I have found the foldable clipboards to be the best in terms of, once I put the paper in there, you can then keep them closed. It makes them more compact, but also the beauty of that is that it protects them, in terms of closing the front. So better, preventing like a HIPAA violation, because now the information is not exposed for the world to see. And also because it's compact, it's, can kind of slide into my side pocket a lot easier. And so, so those were my general go-to. Now, another popular choice are like storage clipboards. I don't like those as much as like the foldable clipboards, because the storage ones, they do tend to be bigger and, slightly bulkier, some of them, but they're not as compact. But you can then put stuff into them and actually like close it all the way. So, that's, pros and cons, either one. I've used both. Definitely pros and cons. And I think depending on, what you want, either one will work. Number 10, looking at a good backpack. But there's a couple of considerations you need to really consider when buying a backpack. The first thing is, are you going to have one with a strap, or are you going to have one that's just rolling, like a rolling backpack? How much crap are you going to put into it? If you're the type of person that literally stuffs every book you've been told to buy, even the ones that you're not going to touch, in your backpack and then lug it around with you, then you might want to consider one with wheels and a handle that you can roll with you. Just to preserve your back. Try to preserve your back. Don't worry, when you become a nurse, the facility will then try to break your back. But try to spare it before then. The other thing to consider with these backpacks is, do you want one that has a slot for a laptop, or do you want one that has a slot for like maybe a tablet, right? I know there's a lot of fancy backpacks out there. Whether it's ones that charge in there. I mean, it just gets super fancy. But I did just want to throw out some options of consideration out there. Just kind of keep in mind that I think that with these backpacks that there are some options, options available, and the choice that you make is kind of important, you know, because a good backpack might last you, you know, a couple years or all of nursing school. So, like I said, every link to every product that I mentioned and more options will be in the descriptions below. Those are affiliate links, and you know, if you do use them, I might get a commission. No extra cost to you. It's just one way to kind of help support the work that I'm doing on this channel. If there's anything you think that I missed, definitely let me know in the comments sections below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you very soon in that next video.